1, 2, 3, and we are live. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of D's Get Degrees. I'm here today with, he'll be a recurring guest on our show, my good friend, Brock Pereira.
Say hello, folks, everyone.
And yeah, so today, Brock, syllabus week here at Amherst. A lot of you in college, syllabus week, exciting time. Freshmen, first time in college, seniors, last week of college. So let's talk a little bit today about our experience as transfer students, our experience as freshmen, and how we saw syllabus week, some good stories, and what to expect. So Brock, going into Texas A&M, obviously your syllabus week, ROTC was different, but you want to talk a little bit about that, and then what it was like when you came here, and syllabus week in the spring, syllabus versus syllabus week in the fall.
So my first week at school wasn't necessarily syllabus week. Since I was ROTC, it was more of a boot camp introduction to, ROTC. That was the worst experience I've ever had in my life. I think it was a huge shock because, you're going from partying every day to getting up at 5:30 with upperclassmen yelling at you, telling you you're a pathetic maggot. But in regards to syllabus week, at first, it's pretty nerve-wracking because you're a freshman, you don't know what's going on, you have no idea where any of your classes are. All the upperclassmen already have a leg on you because, they've been at the school
I actually think being a freshman is actually kind of the best, though, because freshmen usually you get to move in early, so you're there with just freshmen, so you got a couple days, and everyone there is in the same position as you. Most people that didn't come with people they knew from high school are there by themselves. They're all looking for friends. Most people are away from their parents for the first time ever in their life. It's very exciting because you're like, I get to meet all these cool people, I get to go drinking. And the summer of before college, before your freshman year, is usually the best too, because you're
kind of depart from your friends. You go out with a big bang type deal, I guess.
Yeah, you're like, it's like, this is it, last summer, last time together. And then you realize it's not really your last time together, but as you get older, though, looking back, like, it's usually after your sophomore year, I say, people start getting internships, and sometimes you only get to see your friends that you grew up with only on Thanksgiving and around the holidays. And then come summertime, not everyone's going back home. Some people are traveling, some people are going all over. But back to the point of syllabus week as a freshman, it's a very exciting time. You get to be, again, away from your parents for the first time, and you get to try and get beer, you get to try and get laid, you get to try and just live it up.
Right. While that's all great, and syllabus week is really fun, it's obviously nerve-wracking for some of y'all. Some people aren't used to being away from their families, especially if you're out of state, you're, in Massachusetts going to school in Texas, or, you're going abroad, which is rare for freshmen. But, it's a big jump from high school to college. For the first time in your life, you're alone, in the sense that you don't have your parents to back you up right away. I mean, they're there financially, and they're there, like, they're a phone call away. But for the first time, you're living on your own.
And some of you can't just drive. Some of you don't have cars. Some of you can't just go home if you need them. Like, some people are states away, hundreds of miles, thousands of miles.
So for the first time, you're it's like when you go from middle school to high school that, you're no longer the big fish in the pond. It's kind of the same idea, except a little bit more extreme, in my opinion.
I say it's a little bit more extreme, but it's also less extreme because you are, once again, the youngest person, but you're closely in age in regards to an 8th grader to 9th grade to a senior to a freshman in high school. The age gap, it's more extreme. You feel... Some people, the maturity extreme isn't as high in college. I mean, as a freshman, we were talking about how you come and you thinking you're a big dog almost. I say, as a freshman, you think you're more of a shit than maybe even a college senior does, because you come in, you're more excited, whereas upperclassmen could kind of give a shit.
Right. No, I agree with that. So for syllabus week, I guess my biggest advice, though, is take a day out of your first week and figure out what's going on in regards to your academics. Figure out where all your classes are. Talk to your professors. Introducing yourself to a professor can do wonders for you later in the semester. If there's a class, that has 200 kids in it, if you isolate yourself and make yourself known to the professor, there's a better chance that he might be more lenient in the future with your grades.
And this goes back to my experience being at a small school with 3,000 kids at Southern New Hampshire to my experience now at Amherst and University of Arkansas, which are schools with 15,000 plus students and having 500 people in a lecture hall for some of your gen eds. There is a huge difference between a small class where the professor does attendance by saying out your name when you have like 20 kids in a small school setting, whereas you are in a lecture hall, you just kind of go in, you're just a name on a piece of paper. And usually there's like a TA that grades your papers and stuff. So their professor almost doesn't even know you exist. He's just there teaching.
Right, he's just spitting off the facts, but it can be, it can pay dividends in the end if you get to know your professors, your TAs, and kind of establish a relationship. Because not only that, it might not seem like a big deal now, but, say you establish a relationship with your professor, and 2 years down the line, you need a letter of recommendation for internship, for study abroad, etc. You can rely on your professor to do that.
And this goes back to our whole point of what college is really about. Again, being in the classroom, who cares? To be honest, the grades, yes, you don't. Again, D's get degrees, but really C's more get degrees. You can get a couple D's, don't get all D's. But the thing is, your connection with a professor, especially someone that's in your major, could be the best thing you do in college to establish that relationship, because again, they're a professor, and they are in that field that you one day hope to be in. So they have a lot more experience in it. Some of them, depending on your school, if you're at a school such as Amherst, University of Arkansas, Ivy League, a lot of those professors have years, 10 plus years of experience in that field, and then they just came to teach. And some of them are still actively participating in whatever field that is. And that is a great help. One, because if they see you as someone that teachers like it when students want to learn, and anyone likes to talk about themselves. So they're more than happy to give you advice. And I'm sure they're more than happy to sit down and talk with you. And they have their office hours, which again, most professors have to do office hours, and most of the time students don't go by. So if you
capitalize on office hours.
And that was the thing too when I went to University of Arkansas. When I first switched from business to theater, I went and talked to all of my theater professors, and they were more than enthusiastic to come and talk to me about my experience. They'd love when you're eager and you have a positive mindset on things. Professors and teachers, and in interviews, people love the eagerness to learn and work. It just because most students, again, we aren't there to actually learn. We're there to have a good time. Where you should be there to learn, because learning is so much more exciting.
Right. So, in regards to professors, think about it for a second. Even if you're at a small school, these professors have gone through thousands of students, if not 10,000s of students. You know what I mean? So they have a lot of experience dealing with kids. They know your situation, talk to them, establish that relationship.
They know it's a gen ed. They know that you maybe not want to be there. They're looking to help you out. Their job, most colleges, they don't really get affected based on the grades in the class. Some of them literally have a scale where they can only give out a certain number of A's and they can only give out a certain number of B's. So they could care less really about taking care of you because you missed class because you were hungover. Now, if you get to know the professor, he's going to be a lot more lenient and want to help you out.
Most professors care about you. That's their goal. You don't go into academia for the sole purpose of just teaching.
It's not a paycheck.
Right. For some people it might be, but for most professors, they're there because they enjoy teaching and they enjoy seeing kids and young adults and even adults, grow as individuals. So your first week, really get to know your classes, get to know the layout of the school, get to know your professors, introduce yourself. Even if it's a simple introduction you leave, at least you're on their radar. And I guess my second piece of advice is, get to know your people. If you're in dorms, get to know the people living on your dorms. Start establishing relationships with these people, especially if you don't already have a group of friends, from high school that you're going to be bullying with. Really start introducing yourself to your floor mates, your roommates, and start building relationships. I don't necessarily think that these are going to be your best friends for life.
That's what we were talking about with Jesper. We were saying how he was a foreign exchange student and how he came in, and it's like all the foreign exchange students, they stuck together, and how when you first get to college, some of you, your roommate is going to be your best best friend for a while. And some of you are going to hate your roommate and you're going to say, you're going to have a terrible experience. But don't let your roommate be the idea of the type of students at your school. So just maybe you don't like your roommate. That doesn't mean there aren't people at your school. And a lot of thing too is, say you have don't let the first couple of weeks define your whole college experience, in a sense being, if you aren't having the best time, don't think that you're always going to be having a terrible time. They say at every college you ever go to, the only way to really have a great experience and just enjoy college a lot more is to get involved. And that could not be more true. And if you just sit and do class and sit in your dorm and do nothing, you're going to hate college. Right. It's not fun.
And even if you're not becoming best friends with these people, throw out your name, become acquaintances, and then in the future, maybe they're like, hey, so-and-so, hey, Brock, I know I met you on the floor, but my friend's having a party. You want to come? And look, now you just opened a whole new door to more networking, more friendship building. You have all these opportunities. Even if you don't establish a real best friend relationship, you get to know these people, and there's nothing better than walking to a party, walking into a class, and seeing a familiar face. And the only way you get to that point is, by talking to people and introducing yourself. It's definitely scary at first.
But then you should realize it shouldn't really be that scary, because everyone's in the same position as you. And you may not be an outgoing social butterfly, but that doesn't mean you had friends before, I assume. And some people, college is where they actually grow. Like, some people don't enjoy high school because, hey, maybe they're into some I'll take an example. We have a friend that used to do film, and very good filmmaker, and he would hang around us. He's one of our best friends, but he got to college and really found his group of people. All the other filmmakers, really like his group, his people. And college is a great time to find your group. If you think in high school you didn't really
It's a great place to, if you are one of the people who didn't have a great high school experience, it's a great opportunity to reset your life, in the sense that, listen, college is a lot bigger than high school. It's a lot more, it's a lot less isolated than high school, in the sense that, they have everything there for you in terms of clubs. Like, you like anime? Go to the anime club. You like
weightlifting. They got weightlifting. Club.
They have any
club sports,
any niche you can think of.
Fraternities, sororities.
There's photography club. If you have any interest, then go out and go to these clubs, because there's no better way to make friends than doing something that you love, and sharing that love for something with someone. Common interests spark great conversations, and it's a great way to solidify a friendship. So I guess moving on to the third piece of advice is check out your clubs. I guess this is on par with the second piece of advice, talking to friends, but utilize and capitalize on your school's website. They should have a list of clubs that you can look at.
Well, most places they have a list. They have a website, but most places that first week of school, they'll have a big expo fair where they have all the clubs, all the organizations on campus. It's a good place to go get a job. It's a good place to go meet people, and a good place to get pretty much. They'll give out free swag, get that free merch. And then you'll come to realize in college, when they're giving out free shit, it's a great place to go, whether it be food, especially towards the end of semesters where you're running low on dining dollars and meal plan, and you can go somewhere and get some free food. Yeah, it's a great time. Get some free stuff. Especially make sure you grab all the free pens and all the free notebooks you can, and all the free swag.
Financial burden lesson by doing that.
Yeah.
And I think it's also important to realize that college, since it's such a new experience, you're still growing, try new things. I never thought for the life of me that I was ever going to take, Japanese. I knew that I had some interest in languages, but, I kind of went in head first and it was just like, I'm going to try this out. And, I like it now. I found that it's one of my passions in that respect to the Japanese culture, etc. And I wouldn't have figured that out unless if I just said, fuck it, I'm going to try it out. So try new things, push your boundaries.
Don't be scared.
Right. That's what college is about. It's about getting out what you put in. It's about trying new things, growing as a human. So when you finally graduate, you can look back and be like, damn, freshman me to the present me, what a growth, what a maturity level rise. You know what I mean? You matured so much.
Exactly. And I want to say too, as a freshman, this is the only time where college will really be the most exciting moment in your life. As a senior, most seniors at this point, we just want to leave. We don't want to be here anymore. It's just college. You're paying debt. The only difference that separates between you and a job is 2 classes. And the degree, most people already have seniors. Some of them have their jobs already lined up. So
some have already signed on. I know a couple of my friends already signed on with Citi, JP Morgan, and I know one friend who actually dropped out of Amherst because he got a contract with, I think, Goldman Sachs and
exactly
just doing stuff online. That's degree.
Literally, most companies. Again, this goes back to, is the degree worth it? I don't know. Companies want people that are intelligent, competent, and college is just kind of a way. It's like a test, an IQ test per se, in regards to, hey, you can finish this degree from a school, therefore you have some intelligence. Right.
It's a universal certification, so it's recognized. A degree is recognized universally, which is why it's important. But you have to realize that you can get a degree in, for example, electrical engineering, but if you don't have any extracurriculars, if you don't really care, if you only went to lectures and learned the material, sure, on paper you have a degree and you're a good student, but that's not what makes a good student. That's not what makes a good employee.
Most companies at the end of the day, say you are a senior and you had no internships and your resume said 4.0 student, National Collegiate Scholar, and that was all you have, and then you have your job that you worked back home, whatever, you went home from college. No internships, no nothing. Most companies would say, okay.
You have the GPA, but you don't have the experience we're looking for.
And that goes back to, most companies are hiring you for something that you didn't learn to do in college. If you're going to do an entry-level sales job or something, you're not learning that in college. You maybe could learn the skills of sales, but you're learning it in a not way, it's like a pinpoint. It's kind of through, like, most of the skills you learn in a workplace setting are almost skills that you've been doing your whole life. You just wouldn't even call them skills.
Right. It depends on, first of all, your major. This is a pretty generalization, but for the most part, you'll find that when you get a job that, a lot of things you did learn in college are kind of thrown out the window, which isn't a bad thing. College is important, in my opinion, because it acts as a structure for kids to follow. Most people don't have the self-discipline to teach themselves, organic chemistry, electrical engineering, English. They just don't have that self-discipline. And even if they did, they have a lack of direction. College gives, a regimented hierarchy. They give it a structure that you can follow, and through that structure you're able to learn efficiently. Now, besides the point of me thinking college is extremely overpriced, besides that, I think that college is great, but you have to understand, and this is mostly to freshmen or even current students, that if you have an idea of what you want in life, even if you don't, you have to understand that the only way you are going to be successful in life is if you put in the work that you expect out. If I want to be the CEO of a company, I can't go into college thinking, I'm just going to go to lectures, get an A, and then dip out. You have to put in the work. You have to use your resources. You have to network. You have to put in that 110%.
Who cares, though? What do you want to be? Well, I just want to own a business. Well, guess what? What kind of business do you want to own? I don't know. I want to own a business. I want to be CEO. No, you don't. Because a CEO doesn't go, I want to be a CEO, because they just want to start a company or they have an idea. Everything is an idea at the base level. And you can't say, I want a job title, because job titles are literally made up. If you work as an extra in a movie set, and people don't like the term extra, so they use background. I'm a background actor. So literally that title is bullshit. You're standing in the background of a movie. So
right.
The idea that, I want to be a CEO, I want to have this title. No, you should want to be a successful person, and who gives a crap what your title is, because your title is meaningless. There are a lot of companies that give people fake titles just to make them feel better about themselves. It's like when you're on a resume and you're trying to spice it up, you could say, instead of you're a cashier, you can find a word to make everything sound more exciting or
Right.
more difficult of a job than it actually
And
was.
I agree with that sentiment in the sense that, if you say you're looking to be a CEO, that's great, and, hold that. Maybe that's what you actually aspire to be. You want to be in charge of a company, but go
What
into
company,
a
though?
little more in depth and say, why you want to be, a CEO, what qualities you need to be that CEO, what product you want to sell, what do you want to do. You have to go more in depth and kind of. So that's a lifetime goal, but also make daily goals, weekly goals, monthly goals, because it's proven, this is, I guess, statistically proven, scientifically proven, whatever, empirically proven that people who have goals, who write them down, who have short-term and long-term goals are more likely to achieve those goals. Because when you put it on paper,
it's real.
It's real. It's a visualization of, I want to be CEO. But I think
you should not want to be CEO. That's the problem. Well, the problem with our generation is everyone wants to be CEO. Everyone wants to be famous. Well, so yeah, everyone wants to be famous, but no one wants to give themselves a realistic, I don't even know, job. Like CEO is a title. That's not a job. A job is what you're getting paid to actually do for a function. I don't know.
But I think CEO is just a general, I want to be at a top position. I think CEO as well is just a label. You're right about that. I think that it's supposed to represent, hey, I want to be in charge. It's supposed to represent the desire that they want to be on top.
But that's
on top of what?
On top of what? But even exactly on top of what? I think we need to put our goals into perspective, right? So you're in college. Your goal should be you want to have a successful college career. Being I want a GPA of something, a 3.0, right? Something attainable, something you can achieve, and then something that's just out of your reach. So say you're coming into college, you're a regular 3.0 high school student. Maintain a 3.0 in college and strive to be better than that, 3.5. And you want to make Dean's List and you want to get an internship after your freshman year. Things that you can attain and then have some overlying long-term goal. You want to have a salary of, I don't like the idea of doing things where you want to have a salary of this much. That is a lot of the times where kids will talk about, what do we want to do in college? Well, I'm going to be an accountant because their job gives me $100,000 per year, and then coming out the job expected growth is 65% and blah, 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 blah. No, try and get something on paper that you can do. I want to get in shape. I want to get good grades. I want to make good connections. And I want to strive to learn and try to figure out who I am. It's very tough to say I want to be CEO when you have no idea what industry you want to work in, whatever. Try and figure out, your goal should be to try and figure out what you like or what you can see yourself getting paid to do, and then try and work to get in the best position to acquire a job in that field.
I mean, that's definitely important. Maybe instead of labeling, I want to be CEO as a goal, maybe make the distinction between a dream and a goal. Have your dreams, because dreams are important. They're what motivate us to, push on. They're the ultimate end goal, the ultimate end sight thing that you want to achieve. But like you said, I think you also need to establish, like I mentioned before, maybe daily goals, short-term goals, and long-term goals. So a simple, I guess, schedule, routine that maybe you could use would be something like this. My daily goals are to go to the gym every day and eat healthy. That's a daily goal. Maybe my weekly goal is to, study 40 hours of electrical engineering. That's a weekly goal. And then have a monthly goal. Every month I'd like to participate in the city council meeting. Have a hierarchy of goals that you can achieve, and
all those goals should, yeah, exactly. All those goals should play into each other. And when you're being successful in one field, that should then pretty much, once you start small, and then usually if you start getting good in your health and you're feeling good about yourself and eating right, you're going to have more energy. When you have more energy and you feel more confident in yourself because you're getting in shape, that will then go over to your work because then you're feeling more confident. So you're just feeling, when you have confidence and not fake confidence, when you have real confidence in yourself, you're able to do a lot more. And that was pretty much our point going into having confidence.
Okay, so I'll beg the question maybe for someone who's like, who might be having this problem. How do you think, and I'll touch upon this after you, how do you think someone gets confidence? What would be your advice for someone who's like, hey, I don't have confidence. How do I get to that point where I'm comfortable with myself?
Well, I'd then ask that person, what do you like to do? And then, so they would tell me what they like to do, and I'd say, all right, so you have confidence when you're doing that activity. Now try and figure out what about that activity gives you that confidence. Is it because you're good at it? So were you always good at it? And then you need to, so the reason most people have confidence in themselves is because they're good at something. That's what gives you confidence. So if you walk around in a higher position, I saw a thing where it was like guys that can't get girls, and then they get something in their career that gives them confidence, right? Whether it be you get a lot of money, you get a nice car, you get the nice clothes, and then they're able to talk to ladies. Why is that? Because they got the thing they placed on a pedestal, which would give them the confidence, so when they got it, they had the confidence. It's like if I told you wearing this brand will make you a chick magnet, and then you got this brand, you're going to walk around just kind of feeling confident because of, in your mind, this is what gives me confidence. So once you realize you yourself give you confidence, like you need to make your being, your person, the person you are, your confidence drives from. Or find something that you think will give you confidence, get it, and then walk around. It's like the placebo effect almost.
Fake it till you make it type deal, I guess.
Not fake it till you make it, because you should never, because if you're like that idea that fake it till you make it, you're faking confidence, which gives you confidence. Most people can see through fake confidence.
Right, but I think the idea is that if you fake it,
then you
start to believe it.
But you should just but you should already have confidence in yourself, because getting into college, I don't think is as impressive as it used to, because there's college for people just accept about everyone. But you still need to realize that you getting into that position, there are tons of people that want to be in the position you are, and you need to stop comparing yourself to everyone else and start comparing yourself to the person you were yesterday.
Okay, I think that's a good point. I think my biggest advice for anyone who lacks confidence or feels like they're not the best person they can be is to examine yourself, do some introspective.
Which is very hard to do, which is a point that we try and talk about a lot on this podcast, is the idea of understanding who you are, and that college should help you understand the interperspective of yourself rather than the idea that having a lot of money, getting with a lot of girls, having a job that is considered a high title, that shouldn't give you confidence. That does not make you better than someone because you have those things. What gives you confidence is the confidence that you can be who you are and you're okay with it. You don't care what anyone else says. That is true confidence, not I'm confident because I have so much money that I can just buy away all my problems.
Right. So I think maybe your first step into becoming a confident person is to look at the things you don't like about yourself. For example, if you're overweight, look at that and be like, okay, I don't like I'm overweight. And then what you can do is just
then you need to figure out,
attack that problem head on and be like, okay, so how do I solve this problem? And that's where the goals come in. So one thing you don't like about yourself is you're overweight. Okay, so to fix that problem, you set a goal. I'm going to eat, 1,500 calories every day. I'm going to eat below my maintenance, and then you start to lose weight. That's where goals come in. So I think by looking at the things you don't like about yourself, which is hard in itself, and then trying to correct those is the first step to becoming something you like.
An even deeper level you need to search is, all right, so why don't I like this about myself? Is it because how does it affect me, right? So being overweight to some people is they just don't like the way they look. Where being overweight should be, if you're completely healthy and you're just born and your body carries more weight, you're just your build, but you're extremely healthy. If you're overweight and you're unhealthy, you should not like the fact that you're unhealthy. And then you need to realize, why are you overweight? Look into that and being, okay, I'm overweight because I eat all these unhealthy things, not because I was born unhealthy. We all as people don't ever want to take responsibility for our own actions. And again, the biggest thing you can do is just realize you are responsible for all your negatives and all of your positives. Yes, you are put in positions, but at the end of the day, you chose to be in these positions unconsciously or unconsciously. It just kind of happened.
Right. So yeah, if you're fat, if you're overweight, figure out why you're overweight. Maybe you eat a lot as a way to handle stress, and then you can figure out, okay, why am I stressed? How do I deal with that? So it's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but it takes some introspective, contemplation. So you can look at yourself, look at your negatives, and make your goals catered towards solving what you perceive as negative. And if that's what gets you to be a confident person, then great. And like Jack mentioned, being good at something and sharing, qualities and common interests with people is a great way to become confident in yourself. Because when you're good at something, you're good at it because you have confidence, and you have confidence because you're good at it. I'm decent at soccer, so when I'm on the field, I'm not second guessing myself. I know my own strengths and I know my own weaknesses, so I'm confident enough to play on those strengths.
I think that is really the underlying thing that confidence is. It's just not having to second guess a decision. When you're confident with something, you just go right ahead. There's no second thought. Well, I'd say being not confident is having to question whether this is right or wrong. And looking back, when you aren't confident, you may make wrong decisions about things, but being confident is being able to go forward with that decision regardless of what others may think about it.
Right. Confidence is just confidence isn't necessarily knowing that you're the perfect person, because that's more of arrogance. Confidence is recognizing that you do have flaws, as everyone does, but it's okay to have those flaws, and that you're continuously striving to correct those flaws. You're not any less of a person if I'm going to go back to the overweight thing. You're not any less of a person if you're overweight, if, your perceived flaw is I do bad in school. You're not any less of a person, but you can still have confidence because you recognize your flaws and you're continuing to try to correct what you perceive as flaws. And I think that's what confidence really is the ability to take yourself as who you are. You're comfortable with every aspect of yourself, your flaws, your positives, and you just go with it.
Exactly. So going back to how this all affects you as a freshman is you are confident as a freshman, I'd say, for a lot of the times, just the idea that you are going off the mentality of when you're a senior in high school almost, and that carries over to the college experience, because when you're a senior, it's senior year, you're big dog, and you think that, you party, you've done it all, you understand pretty much how the way the world works, you've had sex, you've drank beer, you're cool. But then you get to college and you realize, hey, well, maybe there's more to life than what I thought being cool in high school was about. And that carries over to, again, finding out what you really want to do and what your passion is, or what being happy really is, rather than being considered cool. I think the problem is you come in as a freshman and we all just want to be cool, and there's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with that in high school. But you should want to be respected more than you would want to be considered something. Been giving a label almost. Like, you don't want to be labeled a cool kid. I rather respect that, be respectful person.
I think it's going to differ for everyone, but that's a good point. Just really, when you come in, just understand that you're human. You still have a lot of maturing to do. And regardless of the advice that anyone gives you, what really makes you mature is just you dealing with it yourself. You can't mature by listening to podcasts. You can't mature by listening to how-to videos.
You can mature if you take the information and apply it to yourself. So there's,
but I think there's a nuance in, secondhand hearing, oh, don't smoke weed because so-and-so, and, smoking weed and then figuring out for yourself, oh, this is why I don't like weed, or this is why I like weed.
Well, it's like you can go on Google and typing, is this bad for you? And a bunch of results will come up. Is this good for you? And a bunch of results will come up. So there are people from all sides will tell you all different types of things. So therefore, how do you actually know what's right for you, what's not for you? Well, try it, or understand yourself, and then understand why people like this thing or why they don't like this thing, and how that affects the way that you are. If that makes sense, what I just said.
I think a lot of freshmen will come into going back to, trying to be cool or whatever. So a lot of freshmen come in with different goals or aspirations or what they want out of college. But in regards to the people who come in with the expectation of, I want to party, I want to get booze, I want to live the college life, that's totally fine. Everyone goes through that phase. I think that a lot of people end up realizing that their desires in that regard tend to shift as you become more mature. I'm speaking mostly for myself and a few close friends who have gone through the same, I guess, transformation where freshman year, even sophomore year, and even a little bit of junior year was all about the party life, was all about getting laid, talking to girls, et cetera, doing drugs.
Well, that's the thing too. Being different majors, like business majors, most fraternities have the business aspect. People like the Wolf of Wall Street kind of mentality: work hard, play hard. So you want to work hard during the week, and then you want to work even harder partying on the weekends. So it really does come down to figuring out yourself. And again, maybe you really love partying, and it's like you do very well successfully in school and you just enjoy that whole atmosphere. You like being single and that's who you are. And there's nothing wrong with that.
No, nothing wrong. Me and Jack both have our own personal preferences. But in the end of the day, if your goal is, I want to make $75,000 and that's your conviction, that's what you want to do, but you're still a great person at the same time, you're still doing good grades, whatever, it's not our place to tell you, hey, that's a stupid goal, even though we might disagree with something like that. But just make sure you're confident in yourself and believe in yourself, because like Jack touched upon, in the end of the day, you are the only person who is responsible for your life. You are the only person who has control of your life, and you are the person who decides the outcomes. It's a very powerful thing, and I think we've mentioned this in a recent podcast or last week's podcast or whatever, that you are the master of your reality. If you want something, ultimately it comes down to you. You can't blame other people. You can't blame, the professor screwed me on this test, blah, blah, blah. You should have studied more. You should have taken responsibility.
And that's one thing growing up that I couldn't even grasp that concept. What, like the idea being, I should have studied more? No, he fucked me.
It's easier. That's why it's easier and more comfortable to totally neglect that you are at fault. And I think a lot of that might have to do with pride. But aside the pride point, it's because it's easier to blame someone else than look at yourself in the mirror and be like, damn, I fucked up.
But the minute you start to do that, it's the most, again,
it's liberating. It's liberating.
It's incredible.
You will find that when you start taking responsibility for yourself, you also start to make enormous amount of change, because you grab life by the balls and you say, fuck you, like, this is my life, I'm gonna make it how I want.
I'm happy with the decisions I made because they've all made me the person I am. And so as long as you learn from your things, and that's a lot of problem too, though, it's very tough to get people that don't understand that aspect yet. And I say, like, a lot of times in relationships or just when like arguments with people that you've got within the past, and you go to them and you try and tell them, hey, you know that they did wrong. They're like, yeah, of course you did. You've always been wrong. If the person isn't also willing to take any fault in previous problems, then it's almost, like you can't fix that in a sense, if you get what I'm saying.
Right. I think that's a pretty stoic point of view, honestly, which is great. I mean, I subscribe to that. But in a book, not to get too nerd out, but in a book, it's Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor. But he talks about how the outside reality, you can't change what other people do. You can't change what other people do. The only thing you can change is what you do. So external factors shouldn't matter because you have no effect on them. It's not like you can force someone to change their opinion. You just have to let their opinion exist. And the only thing you can change is how you react to their opinions. And I think that's exactly what Jack said. Like, you can't force someone to see your way. You just have to, move on, I guess, in the end.
And then, to be honest, we live in a society now where we like to say there are no right or wrong answers, but that is, I believe, the only thing that is ever right is the truth. And the truth is, everyone is at fault for their own mistakes. So the minute you accept that is the truth. That is the way the world works. So people that do not agree with that, they are wrong, I would say. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, that's definitely harsh, but it's reality where obviously there's some circumstances we're talking at this point, exceptions, but are circumstances where maybe in the end, like, you had no choice, or
I don't
you
like
forced your hand.
when there is a sound argument and everyone will think of the most crazy exception to the rule. Well, yes, there are exceptions,
Right,
but you can,
exceptions
if you act like laws and things should be made off crazy exceptions, then
Right.
that is
it's that's not what you should be looking at.
Yeah.
For the majority of us, for the majority of situations you're in, for the majority of problems you have, they can easily be solved by introspectively looking at yourself and being like, hey, what can I do next time to fix this? What can I do? Not, hey, what can the professor do to solve this? What can I do? You didn't get a bad grade because your professor made a shitty test. You got a bad grade because you didn't study well enough, or you just didn't study at all. You didn't get in a fight with your mom because your mom's a bitch. Granted, she might be
a bitch, though.
You got in a fight because you guys both of you failed to, act like adults. There is always some fault within you for the problems you have, for the most part. And that's where this all connects. If you start taking responsibility for yourself, you will succeed. And that applies to everything in college. You take responsibility for yourself, realize that, hey, I'm here for college, I'm here to learn, I'm here to improve myself, and start improving. Use the resources, talk to the professor, do well, study, put in the effort, and you will get the success you're looking for.
But most of you won't do that. Most everyone likes to talk the talk, but no one ever does the walk the walk. And that's even the hardest thing for even most people to introspect themselves, is being, I totally walk the walk. No, you don't. You don't walk the walk. You don't believe the shit that you're saying.
Right. And that's what differentiates the greats from, the average Joes that no one cares about.
But there's nothing, the problem is too, being an average Joe is not, who gives a crap if the world doesn't know who you are, but your friends know who you are.
Right.
You want to be, you're the greatest to your friends and the people that care about you. You are the greatest. So before you try and change the world and go do something great, how about you try and be the greatest person to the people that care about you the most, and then you got to solve the small stuff first. You got to go in with the small stuff. This goes back to our idea about the goals and about trying to change yourself. You got to start small. You can't just say, this is this big goal, this big change I want to make, if you can't change the little things. It's like, I want to be the greatest podcaster of all time, but I don't even know how to upload my podcast. Well, guess what? If I can't get the simple things down, then I can't achieve the big things.
So basically, just before you can change the world, you have to change yourself. And actually, for some reason, I have this quote on my phone. I'll read it out real quick. But it's exactly touched on that point. I think it embodies both Jack and our thoughts on the matter. But when I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. When I found I could not change the world, I tried to change the nation. When I found that I could not change the nation, I tried to change my town. When I found I could not change the town, I tried to change my family. Now, as an old man, I realize the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that if long ago I had changed myself, I could have made an impact on my family. My family and I could have made an impact on our town. Their impact could have changed the nation, and I could indeed have changed the world. And I think that's, for whatever reason I have that on my phone, clearly at some point it resonated within me. I think that's what this whole idea is if you want to do something great, and even if you don't, whatever your goals are, be the best person you can be. Jack said it great a few minutes ago where he said, don't compare yourself to others. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday. Are you a better person? You want to... I think Matthew McConaughey had a great speech on this when he was accepting whatever.
When he's like, the person I look up to is myself in 10 years.
Right, exactly. And I think that's a great, like an analogy, allegory to what we're speaking about.
It's like you'll never reach... It's like when the carrot's dangling in front of you. You'll never maybe get the carrot, but the hunt for the carrot makes you strive every
right. The journey,
work
not the destination
closer.
Type deal. I'm not sure if I necessarily whatever.
Yeah, but that's fine. But all right, back to syllabus week and now being a senior. Yeah, so being a senior though, I just like my mindset today just goes back. I laugh when I think of how I came into college. So my interview with my fraternity, they asked, what is your biggest strength and what is your biggest weakness? I said my biggest strength, I would say, is I don't take life too seriously. And then I said my biggest weakness was I don't take life too seriously. And that goes back to my freshman year, I went into the first fraternity party I went to, and I went around telling all the upperclassmen, Yo, my nickname is 30 Rack Jack, and my boy is Dimebag Dan, because, we smoke a lot of weed and we love to drink. And it just goes back to that is kind of the ideal way I feel like most of us as freshmen come in just thinking we're the best. And then my nickname ended up becoming Six Pack because I could only drink a 6-pack of beer, and I ended up getting in shape, but that's beside the point. So now I like the nickname, but at the time I still thought it was funny because I enforced my own nickname and ended up going out with a pretty cool nickname, I would say. But going off that, yeah, so I came in, my mindset was, I don't take life too seriously, and that's good, right? Because when you don't take life too seriously, you can kind of just go about, nothing really bothers you. But the problem when you don't take life too seriously is you end up doing a lot of things that you costing yourself some really meaningful and impactful.
Right. You end up maybe hurting yourself in the end because since you're not taking life seriously, you kind of neglect things that could benefit you.
And you end up, I'd say, regretting. I don't regret anything, but you end up overlooking important things in your life that maybe you should have more meaningful impact at the moment. But then I can look back and I can say I can now look back at it and say, oh yeah, that's very meaningful to me, and not even realize at the time. It's kind of even life, when you go to a party or something when you're going to college and you have your uncle or someone, your older family members, they come up to you and it's like, yeah, man, I remember when I was just like you, and you're like, shut up, you're 50 now, I don't want to hear about how cool you were when you were 20. But you look back on life and you just say, oh man, seems like it was just yesterday. So that is another thing I'd say take away is, again, go live, go learn, and don't
have fun.
Yeah, have fun.
Life's supposed to be fun. Life's supposed to be shitty at some points, but enjoy life. For those who think that this is the only life, those who think, there's an afterlife, whatever. This is the one physical life that we're given in your perspective. From your perspective, live it, love it, enjoy it. Things suck at some times, but I think it'll benefit most people if they just take a second to enjoy the good things in life, no matter how little or even how big. Just enjoy life because it's not that difficult to. And
as a freshman coming in, don't think that you need to change if your life is happy, right? So don't think if you're in a relationship with a girl that you really love or you really care about, don't think you guys need to break up just to be, living that college life. If you are really happy studying and you really love studying, don't think you need to, just because you're in college, you need to go party now because you're in college. Don't change because you feel like you have to if you're very happy and secure with yourself. Because at the end of the day, you'll go back after all the partying, all the drinking, and all the fun adventures you have with your college friends. You'll look back at the most times, the best nights are the ones where it was just maybe you. I look back to my freshman year, the most fun I had was me and my roommate Dan and two of our other friends that we met at orientation, just drinking beer, singing songs, and just talking about what we thought college was going to be and how excited we were. Those nights are more impactful on my life, and I miss those moments, and those are the moments I try and cherish and capture again today, because you realize you want to be with people that care about you and people you care about more than being at a party and being drunk all the time.
I agree with that. That begs the question that I'm going to kind of transition. What do you think about high school friends meeting college friends and vice versa?
Oh yeah, well, we had this conversation too with Christian that most of your high school friends and your college friends, they will not get along. It's just kind of you love them the same way, if you're really good college friends, but it's just a different side of. Right. It's two
aspects of your life, because your high school friends are your college. Obviously,
again, we always talk about this point all the time. It's they knew you before, and then college ones only know you. It's their inside jokes with you are different than your inside jokes with your hometown friends, because you all grew up, you all have things, you all know stories. That doesn't mean you can't get along, but I just think your college friends are more suited towards the person you are now, where your high school friends are your best friends because
you grew up with them, you went through a valuable time maybe.
But maybe they were a part of you to their core that you're not the way you act in college. in a sense. But that goes back to, I don't know, if you are your true self, and then you'll find friends, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's a toss-up.
It's a toss-up. It's tough. But I don't know.
So back to syllabus week, I guess. Classes, how to choose classes or anything. Do you have any advice for that? How many credits?
I'd say as a freshman too, my last point is you forget in college. I remember I got my schedule my freshman year and they made it for me. I didn't realize the fact that I could drop. They give you a schedule, but don't lose the fact that, hey, you can change your class. Yeah, they gave me my schedule. I didn't get set.
I don't know how many colleges do that.
Well, yeah, so if you're college, and one big thing, don't think that if you don't like waking up at 8 a.m., don't say, oh, no, freshman year is the year I'm going to decide that I'm going to wake up at 8 a.m. I want my classes in the morning. Best advice, do class at like 10, 11.
If you're not a morning person, don't pick classes in the morning.
Don't think your freshman year of college is the time where you're going to completely change everything about you, in a sense. Yeah. Don't be like...
Play your strengths.
Yeah.
I guess my advice for choosing classes and, how many to take, I took my first year as a freshman, I took 12, to kind of get in groove of things. I think that's a general...
12 what?
12 credits. So I guess that's about three to four classes. It's a minimum amount you can take to be a full-time student. I think that's the general consensus on what you should do, and it's the advice that most administrators or faculty will give you.
I was in a program where it was degree in 3, and the thing is, most of the people that do degree in 3, they do like their freshman year. So I was doing maybe 7 or 8 classes my first 2 semesters, and then people were like, "Well, I want to experience college more." And I think and people end up regretting that when they could graduate. It's better. I feel like it's better to leave college wanting more college than being college too long.
Right. No, I agree with that. I mean, I think I'm going to be either a 5-year or 6-year student, which in terms of money, that fucking sucks. Because I'm not getting, when I was at Texas A&M, I was getting significant, I wasn't paying anything. But at UMass, it's a little different. So I'm going to come out of college in a significant amount of debt. So in that respect, for sure, like, you want to see if you can grind and get out. But there's a balance, I think.
There's a balance, and you need to realize you just got to get your priorities straight, man. That's really it. If you really think drinking shitty beer at the frat house and paying for $2 beer at the bar on Wednesday nights really the highlight of your existence, then
I mean, maybe it can be. Maybe you'll enjoy doing that. Like,
no, it can be, but that people will take on $30,000 more debt to be an extra year in college.
You're not going to college. You can do that on your own time when you're home on break. Don't spend. Most of you guys either have loans or through parents. Very few of you are paying for yourselves. Don't waste your parents' money like that. Don't waste your own money, because if you're taking out loans, you're wasting your own money just to go to the bar and get hammered. Focus on studying. Don't fail. Take an adequate amount of credits your first couple semesters, whether that be 12, and then you realize, hey, I can do 12 credits. And 12 credits is, by that I mean the minimum amount you can take to be a full-time student. Take 12, and then, hey, I can handle this. Bump it up a little bit, and then see where the sweet spot is. I think that's probably, in regards to choosing your classes, that's the best bet. And don't be afraid to drop classes. I know a lot of colleges offer, if you drop before a deadline, it doesn't count for anything or on your transcript. But if you drop within another timeline, it's a W or withdrawn or something on your transcript. Those don't matter. If it's going to benefit you because your workload's too much, do it.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. You need to realize if you're taking a class, you show up the first couple weeks and you're just not feeling it. Just don't think you're gonna. We all have this idea that we're all gonna change. I'm struggling now, but eventually I'll just wake up tomorrow and be like, well, now I love this class and I'm gonna try. There's no gradual big snap. There are revelation moments in your life. Sometimes you'll hear something and it will resonate with you and you'll get that weird holy shit, that light bulb moment. But most of the time it's slow, and then you'll wake up one day like, wow, I can't believe I changed so much. It just kind of happens.
Right. So don't be afraid to drop class. If you hate a class, there's no harm, no foul. I mean, obviously some classes you're going to hate that you're going to have to take, but for gen eds, if you're taking Introduction to American Literature during the 1920s and you're like, fuck, I hate this
Or
class.
you're taking freaking like history of the Western civilization at 8 a.m. your freshman year on Fridays, and then you go out every Thursday night and you miss all the classes and you end up getting a D.
Right.
Yeah, there's no one to blame but yourself because you didn't know you could drop classes. I'm not saying that that was me or anything, but these do get degrees, and then you can transfer to universities later in life. So, guess what? Don't let one semester define you, but don't let one semester not define you in this sense.
Right, in a sense where you do bad your first semester or even any semester, don't let it define you in the sense that you can get out of that. Like, yeah, you did shitty that semester and that sucks, but don't find yourself, let it define you in the sense that you aren't going to let it drag you down for the next semester. You're going to break that cycle and do better next semester. And ultimately, it comes down to the main point we've been talking about this episode. You have to take responsibility for yourself. You did bad the first semester. You have to understand why you did bad and rectify that for the following semester and do better. Just do better.
Always do better, baby. Except when it comes to doing drugs. Do less. Be better.
I think...
Don't do better.
Is there any other advice for Syllabus this week? I mean, I guess we already covered, talking about join clubs, look at clubs. We already talked about that. There's other more obscure things. Maybe you can join church. There's probably churches near you. And I think that's a good place to meet people. Church is a very good place to make connections. One last point, actually, I want to bring up that I talked about a little bit is it is very important to network. And I think that's the biggest point. My biggest point when I go out to parties, besides having fun with my friends, is if you meet someone, you never know, 4 years down the line, if you can hit them up and be like, hey, I heard that you're working with so-and-so. Do you think you could introduce me to your boss and help me get a job? Networking is very important. I know for a fact a few of my friends have gotten their jobs through people they met at parties where they just got along with, and then a year down the line, they were talking, and the guy introduced my friend to his boss, and then now my friend's working at the company.
I feel like, yeah, if you like someone, ask for their number. Get their stuff, man. Never be scared to be like, hey, I enjoyed our conversation. Let's, become friends.
Right. The worst thing that anyone's ever going to say is, no, sorry, man. And that's, I don't
If someone has ever asked for my number, if you have a conversation with someone and it's a good time and they're like, hey.
I don't think I've ever most people are not going to say no, especially if it's not someone hitting on you by anything. It's just like it's strictly platonic. Hey, man, you mind if I get your number? Very few people I can imagine would be like, nah, bro, fuck you.
Man, my time. This is it. This is my time right here, right now. That's all you get.
Even if they have no intention of texting you or calling you back or hanging out with you again, they usually oblige and say, yeah, I'll give you your number.
That's another big thing. The best is, I'm drunk, we're going to be best friends for life. Let me get your stuff, and never talk to him again. The amount of numbers I have on my phone from being drunk and having great conversations with people is like, oh yeah, dude, we're going to be boys. I mean, but hey, they're on my phone, so I guess if I ever wanted to hit them up, I'm sure I could.
Right. And I'm sure at the next party you see, you're like, hey, man.
But then it's like, that's even better. Hey, we're best friends this one night, and then the next time you see them out, you're like yeah. It's just like the one night stand chicks that you're like, oh, that awkward, hey. But yeah.
So I think that's basically it for
Syllabus week, man. I mean, go have your potties, get drunk. This is the only time in college this week that you won't be stressed.
Right, it's relaxed. You take time. And so basically, like what we talk about, go see your professors, go look at clubs, socialize with people. Don't be afraid to be yourself. And I think that's...
let loose, have fun. This is you get drunk during the week. It's like the one time you can do it. But then don't get caught up. I mean, the problem is don't get caught up, but you're totally going to get caught up. And then that's just kind of going to be your college. But hey, do it yourself, learn from your experiences, and remember, A's are for assholes, you get degrees, and anything you want to say?
No, that's it. Just, be the best person you can be and do better.
Yeah, and thank your parents for letting you get loans for college, or thank Sally Mae that she's going to screw you over when you're working at, I don't know, something.
It's 10% interest rates.
That's not... Those aren't even real yet, right? It's like Monopoly money. I just get it back, right? But yeah, all right.
15% is what I'm
college. But yeah, have a great rest of your day. Seal. It's not Seal. It's Careless Whisper, which is what I was singing when I say everyone dance again. Non-copyright music. Play us out.
evolutionary process going on. But mankind won't be destroyed. The fact that you and I are working